Hello, 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 investors. We're going to talk about a very, very important subject that I've wanted to talk about for a while today because I think this is super important with where our world is at, where we're going, where you want to actually position yourself. So today we're going to talk about the three main wealth transfers that every single individual has within their life. So I think this is super important to touch on because you need to understand the opportunity that you have at hand. You need to understand over the course of your lifetime that on average you have three major wealth transfers that happen, and you have the opportunity to benefit from those three major wealth transfers. And a lot of people go through life, a lot of people go through their day, and they don't even fully understand that they even have an opportunity to get into one of these wealth transfers. So instead of you being that individual that gets to the end of your life and says, I had no clue that I even had an opportunity to intercept, to be positioned at the forefront of one of these wealth transfers and gain the immense upside from it, and look back and have regret, you're going to be walking away from this video today and say, okay, I know the exact wealth transfers that happen in my lifetime on average. I know how to look for them. And then I also know how to place myself within it so I can actually take advantage. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing that we really want to talk about, and I really want to share with you guys, is understanding what do these wealth transfers look like? And what are those three different wealth transfers that happen in your life? Well, first and foremost, you have the first two, which are in the same category. So the first two are usually a new technological advancement. And both of these are both of them are the same, but they're the first two that happen, or there are two of them that happen. Essentially, there's three that happen your whole lifespan. They can happen at any point, right? And you have to be aware, and that's what we're going to talk about on here. But there's two of these that happen in your lifespan. So what this looks like is the internet coming out. This was a new technological era that came about, and a lot of wealth flooded into the internet era. It flooded into understanding, okay, we're actually advancing in technology, we're advancing in time, we're advancing in how emails get played through. And those that invested early on into Amazon, they invested early on into Microsoft, they invested early on into a domain, they actually were able to gain a lot of the upside from this new tech advancement happening. Now, let's go back even further in time and look at the railroads or even oil. I mean, Rockefeller was one of the leaders of these industries, a leader of the oil industry, right? And he was able to capitalize, be in the forefront, and in this new industrial revolution that happened, he was able to capitalize and truly build immense amounts of wealth. But even those individuals that were able to invest in those stocks or be able to tap into somewhat of the beginning of that new tech industry, new industrial revolution for that one, right? They were able to gain that upside. So every single time we see a new advancement come in like this, a new tech advancement, we see mass amounts of wealth created. And why do we see that? Well, we see mass amounts of wealth created because we're starting at ground zero with these new technologies. No one understands them. No one thinks they're important. And a lot of people think they're going to fail or it's going to be a fad. They don't even understand that it's basically like telling someone you can, in today's age, it's like telling someone that you can time travel, right? And basically saying we can time travel, and then you just dismiss it. You say, no, we can't. I'm not going to invest in that. That's not possible. Well, that's what a lot of people did with the internet era. They said, that's not possible. I don't need my business on a website, and I don't need a domain. They didn't understand that email was possible, right? And then when Amazon came about, they no one could really comprehend and understand that you could click one button and have your outfit show up at your house, or have your dog food come and show up at your house. No one fully understood that. So that's why there was actually a lot of opportunity, because since the value of these technologies were at zero, and they had to prove themselves over time and come up to where they are now they're pretty consistent. They're not very volatile. Amazon isn't very volatile. The internet isn't volatile, right? Because they found their baseline now. They found their equilibrium. But before they found their equilibrium, there was a huge, massive amount of volatility, but then a huge increase within the price, within the value, because it went all the way to zero to its equilibrium. And between the equilibrium and zero is really the opportunity at hand. And that's what you can benefit from. And that's why there's so much wealth that's flooded into a new tech advancement, not just a new product, or let's say let's just talk about face moisturizer, right? Okay, there's no new thing with face moisturizer. So if someone creates a new product, it might just go up in that equilibrium. You're not going to get a huge uptick or a huge acceleration within the price from that. But if someone creates a new idea, a new technology, you can really go from zero all the way to that equilibrium, which is where that wealth transfer takes place. And that means that it's limited. So you can't just consistently make money on that. There's only a time period where it's going to be extremely accelerated. And if you think of it, the stock market, the average APY, or the return on your investment per year, is around 7 to 10%, and that's on average. With these, I'm not talking 7 to 10% or even 12%. I'm talking about in the span of 5 to 10 to even 15 years of implementation, you could be looking at over 2,000, even 10,000% increase, which you might look at me and say, that's crazy, I've never seen that before. Well, Bitcoin's done it. Amazon did it. Amazon actually used to sit at, believe it or not, it used to sit at $10 per share. And it sits now over $3,200 per share. So these technologies can definitely do that, and that's why you want to place yourself in early to these. And that's why you need to understand that there are only 3 that take place. So the first 2 are a new tech advancement, which I'm talking about, and you can actually get in early and gain that upside from that tech advancement. And so what tools do you need for that? What tools do you need to get in? Well, first you need to identify these, and you need to understand and understand those things that are backing these new technologies. First, you need to understand what the new technologies are. Right now, that's AI, that's crypto, that's even private equity. Private equity is a good one too, because they usually start very low, and then if they decide to go public, then you can actually go ahead and get a lot of benefit off of those as well. But you need to understand the tools to have for these. So first, you need to understand what the technology is, have conviction behind it, invest in it. But then, since it happens over a period of time, you need to be able to withstand that period of time. You can't think that it's coming in a year or in 2 years or even in 3. You need to be able to withstand the time of this implementation and the volatility within the implementation to actually get to the other side and benefit from that upside of it going from zero all the way to equilibrium, So you need to have knowledge of what are these new advancements, which ones are working, which ones are going to get to that 5, 10, 15 year mark. Invest in those, and then you need to be able to withstand the volatility of the market, and you need to have time work for you, not against you. You can't be saying, okay, I hope I make 500% in 1 year. It may happen, but it also may not. And you need to be able to have confidence enough to be able to hold within 5, 10, even 15 years, and you're more than likely, if you're invested in the right thing, going to see greater increase than someone has seen in a lifetime of not investing in a new tech advancement. Now, let's get to the third let's get to the third, I'm like still thinking about the tech advancements, but let's get to the third wealth transfer. What is that third wealth transfer? Well, when a third wealth transfer happens, and this is the one that is the most rare, it's a monetary reset. And that's because a monetary reset actually usually happens over 100 years. So we usually have the same monetary system set in place for about 100 years. But when a monetary reset does happen, there is a lot of wealth that is transferred within that time period. And why is that? Well, because we're going from one method of payment to another, and really one method of value to another. So let's just look back at when we used to trade in gold and silver, and we used to exchange gold and silver. Well, that wasn't very reasonable. You don't want to be carrying all your gold and silver everywhere. So then they did a one-to-one with the dollar, right? And they backed it by gold. They backed the dollar by gold and silver and whatnot. Well, that slowly deteriorated, and they slowly didn't have one-to-one backing. And that really created the fiat dollar. Then in 1971, we went off the gold standard, and the dollar isn't even backed by gold and silver anymore. And then we were somewhat backed by oil, and in 2021 or 2022, 2023, it was kind of over a period of time. Saudi Arabia, the biggest oil producing nation in our world, they went away from the dollar. They left their 50-year agreement saying that we're going to back the dollar basically with oil. There's a lot more details to this, but I'm trying to simplify it here. They're not using the dollar anymore to transact oil, to sell oil. And so now our dollar isn't even backed by oil. And so we have to understand that, okay, we've come a long way from transacting in gold and silver all the way to the dollar. Now we have a debt-backed system, and we're not even somewhat backed by gold. And now we're not even backed by oil. So really what we're backed by is trust. And so instead of transacting with gold and silver, which would be the most ideal way to transact, because from a standpoint of value, it would be the most ideal way to transact from a standpoint of value, because everyone can agree on what gold and silver's worth is, essentially, and that it's valuable. So that's really what true money is, or true value is. But now that we've created a currency, that's a fiat currency that now we just have trust behind. So what people really want is they want the newest, the best efficient way to transact. They want the newest technology, but they also want the best backing and the most value for the monetary system. So really, in today's age, what we're looking at is the newest and best technology, and that is not just the dollar. That is cryptocurrency. That is blockchain. That is essentially quantum. that is AI. And infusing all of those together, which they're actually doing right now, we're going to have the most efficient way to transact. We're going to have the best way to actually move money around in the world. But now what do we need? We need tangible value. So gold and silver come into play. I mean, US, China, all these countries have been buying up a lot of gold and silver. And why have they been doing that? Well, I really do think that we could see that go back to essentially the backing behind some of this new technology and the currency that we're going to start transacting with, and that multiple banks and institutions are already implementing to be able to transact on. So we've already gone through 100 years of going back and being and going to essentially the debt-backed system that we're in. It's been over 100 years now, and we've already come off gold and silver. So I really do believe that right now in this time period, you have to ask, what wealth transfer are we seeing right now? Are we seeing a new tech advancement, or are we seeing a monetary reset? And quite frankly, I see that we're seeing both. And that's the craziest thing, because we're actually seeing both at the same time. We're not just seeing a new tech advancement with crypto, AI, and all these other things. We're also seeing a new monetary reset. And so I think this could be one of the greatest wealth transfers we've seen in history. And the fact that they're actually combining it's a tech advancement inside a whole revamp of not just the US monetary system, but a global monetary system. I think that we could truly see one of the greatest wealth transfers we've seen in a lifetime. So you really have to ask yourself, is this something that I want to study more? Is this something that I want to learn more? Is this something I want to understand? Okay, what technologies are really going to be the future? Which ones can I gain that opportunity from? Intercept that gap and spend 5-10 years within this investment. And I think it's going to be shorter because we've already seen a lot play out, but that I can spend some time in, and I can put my capital here and see a greater increase than what most people see in a lifetime, because most people, only 10% of people invest and benefit from one wealth transfer in their lifetime, and they have 3. On average, they have 3 that they go through, and only 10% benefit from 1 on average. So you have to ask yourself, am I going to start to study this? Am I going to start to learn these new technologies that are coming out? Get in early, be a successful early investor. How can I do that? And really, it's first by going and educating yourself, understanding, okay, how can I see which technologies are going to be successful in the future? And then I would really challenge you guys to go learn the monetary system. Go look at what the monetary system, where it's come from in history, the different points it has to play, because the thing with the monetary system, and I'll tell you this, is that it always goes back to gold and silver. It always resets. The last cycle always goes back to gold and silver. There's a great documentary, a series, maybe I'll try to put it below. I love this one. It's called, sorry guys, I'm trying to think here. I'm blanking on the name, but it's really good on the monetary system. It'll give you a lot of good understanding of, oh my gosh, this is how it was created. This is how we went from gold and silver to this, to the dollar, to where we're at now, right? Within not just the US dollar, but globally as well, and other fiat currencies. So I'll go ahead and place that below, because I'm not being able to remember what it's called. Oh, it's called The Hidden Secrets of Money, and it's on Amazon Prime. And I love this documentary. It's like a series, and I think you could probably also find it on YouTube, but I'll place it below. But this is so valuable and really, really good when it starts to come to understanding money, and not just thinking, a lot of people think of money and they just think of the dollar. And really, you have to understand what is backing the dollar. What is the value of the dollar? So go learn the monetary system. Go even start educating yourself on what tech advancement are we in right now, and a huge tech advancement, right? And then you have to understand, okay, are we in a season? Are we in a position right now in my lifetime that a wealth transfer is actually happening? And if so, how can you capitalize on this? How can you invest in yourself, add value to yourself to actually get in early and capitalize on that opportunity that's at hand? Because for me, I'm investing right now. I'm investing in this new tech. I'm investing in my education of the monetary system to understand why we're having a reset and why it's not a flip of the switch, but why we've actually been in a reset of the monetary system for a year, or for 10 to 20 years, I believe, not just a year. And I think that when you actually start to realize that this has been happening over time, it's not just a flip of the switch. It's not just something that's like, oh, yep, monetary reset, we're actually switching to this. You start to see the patterns, and it's undeniable. You start to say, oh, now I understand why we're in a monetary reset. I understand how I can place myself to intercept where our monetary system is now, where it's going, where our technology is at now, where the new tech is going. And if you can place yourself in early, you can really gain that upside. Anyway, I hope this helped. I hope you guys can start to see what those 3 different wealth transfers are, how you can start to identify those in your life, and then truly just getting that encouragement and understanding to actually go in and invest in yourself and start to see where you can place yourself in these positions to actually benefit from the upside of where we're going in the world. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.